Alright YouTube, Engineer Boy 100. It's time for another oil change. First up, we're going to have the oil that I'm going to use. It's going to be the Rotella T6. I'm using a 5-weight 40. And I'm going to go ahead and show you the tools now that are necessary to do this job. Okay, here are the tools I'll be using. 27 millimeter open-end wrench, 19 millimeter open-end wrench, an 8 millimeter Allen wrench. I'll be using these little strut holding tools. It's a windy day, so I'm going to use those to hold the engine cover. And there's the oil filter wrench here that we'll be using to take the oil filter cap off. And that's about all you need. So let's get started. There are 4 plugs that need to be removed to drain all the oil. And the first one is the rear plug. It actually requires a 15 millimeter wrench, which I forgot to put with the other tools because I already had it staged up here. But anyway, it requires a 15 millimeter wrench. We're going to take that one loose next, and then we're going to take loose the 2 bladders underneath the turbos, and then the main big one that requires the 19 and the 27. You may have heard me say this before. 1927. The year the Nürburgring was founded. So anyway, let's get on with it and drain this oil. 15 millimeter first. Okay, so next I would take the plug out of the first turbo bladder with the 8 millimeter wrench, Allen wrench. And yeah, I put anti-seize on the threads before when I put these in each time, so it's going to be a little easier for me. These still somehow find a way to get seized in there, but they're kind of tight. So, and not much oil's in them, but I just want to, it is dirty and it does circulate, so I like to drain these and get that little bit of oil out of the system. Let's let it go ahead and drain. And now we'll do the other side. And then the big one. Okay, so see, I put anti-seize in the threads to make it a little easier to take these things out before I put them back in. And then when I take out the big one, I'm going to leave the one that had the 15 millimeter bolt. I'm going to leave that open for venting. Sometimes you leave that open, sometimes I just go on top and take the oil filter out. Either way, it just makes the flow of the massive drainage that comes out of that one smoother, laminar. Okay, so it doesn't splatter all over the place. And you do want to have a vent open somewhere for that one, because I'm telling you, a lot of oil comes out all at once. And if you don't have venting somewhere, then it's going to self-vent, meaning it's going to be sucking air back in while at the same time while oil is trying to come out, and it's going to make that oil splatter all over the place. And I've seen a lot of people, even on YouTube, doing that, and yeah, it's not funny, but yeah, they made quite a mess. Don't be like them. All right, done with the left side turbo bladder. So now I'm going to do the right side, and you can watch that too. Okay, before I open up that big main oil drain, I'm going to take out the oil filter and open up the oil filler cap so it can vent. So let's open up the back. Open up the engine cover. Look at those goodies. I'm going to go ahead and install the strut supports now too. Now I'm going to remove the oil filter. Let's leave that open and we can go down and drain the rest of the oil. Take the oil filler cap off as well. Alright, it's showtime. Time to drain the 1927. Here we go. I hope this doesn't go all over the place. I really hope not. You always want to counter this, otherwise you're going to crack this oil tank and that's going to be an engine out repair. It's gonna suck. Okay, that done. We can cue music. And it's gonna come out. Here we go. There we go. See how that comes out nice and smooth though, even though it's a lot? It comes out nice and smooth when you have it vented somewhere else in the system. And that's what you want. Beautiful. Now I'll pour this into the recycle containers to see about how much it is, so I know about how much to put back in. That's how I go by it. And I usually let the car run down to like half a quart low, not low, but you know, in the middle of the full range. That way I have a little bit of leeway and I just fill it back up to where it was before when I put the new oil in, and then I check it at temperature and that'll tell me about how much I need to add to get it up to about 3/4 full. I don't try to fill it all the way up because I don't want to overfill it. So I fill it up about 3/4, and the bar for measuring on the dash from top to bottom is about 1 quart. So mine's at halfway the display, so that means I'm about a half quart, not low, but you know, a half quart low. Okay, so when you tighten up the 19mm bolt, you want to counter again. Okay, even when you put it on, it's not as much. The reason being, you don't want to put any strain on the neck of the oil tank so that you don't crack it or break it, because if you do, you're done. You're gonna have to replace that, and that is engine out. Okay, so we're gonna replace the oil filter, but first I want to replace this O-ring right here, okay, with the new O-ring. Put a little oil on it and install the new O-ring. Now, there's another O-ring in this system, and I'm not going to replace it because they didn't include one with the oil filter this time, and that one is right here. Okay, there's another O-ring right there, but I replaced it last time, so it's fine. It's not, you know, it's not too bad. But usually there's another O-ring included for that tip. So all we have to do now is put the new oil filter in and tighten down the housing. After pouring the old oil into recycled containers, it came to about 1 3/4 gallons. So I'm going to add back in 1 3/4 gallons, and since I know it's about a half a quart low, I think I'll be okay. It's enough oil to protect the engine, but not enough to overfill it. Now I'm going to reinstall the oil filter. Don't over tighten it, just like a quarter turn after it stops. Now I will pour the first gallon of oil into the engine. Then I'll take the second gallon and I'll pour 1 quart of that out into the empty jug first, so that I only have 3/4 of a gallon to pour into the engine, so that I don't accidentally overfill it. Now for the second gallon, I'm going to pour off 1 quart first, so that I only have 3/4 of a gallon to pour in, so that I don't overfill on accident. All done with the oil. Now we can put the cap back on, start it up, get it up to temperature, see how close I was. There's no leaks, oil pressure looks good. We'll check the level shortly. Okay, as you can see, the oil pressure is looking really good. Give it a little gas. Oil pressure goes right on up. And we're up to temperature, about 100 and maybe 90 degrees or so. So let's push the little switch down here, right, where are we at? Right here. We're gonna push it forward 3 times, but I'll let you watch what happens on the dash. Push it forward 3 times to do an oil check. So here we go. So we're a little tiny bit low, which is excellent. I add about a half a quart to it, and we should be up to 3/4, right where I want it. Perfect. Now, let's drive it off the ramps and put it away.